Diablo inadvertently saves Priestess Lumachina Weselia from an assassination attempt by paladin Juelt, easily defeating Juelt and leaving him frozen in ice. Lumachina, who was praying at the time of Diablo's arrival, now believes that Diablo is God, which troubles him. Lumachina explains to Rem and Shera that only God and her future husband are permitted to see her naked. Since Diablo unintentionally saw her underwear, she concludes that he must be God or she must marry him. With no other options, Diablo insists that his true identity is a secret, allowing Lumachina to continue believing he is God and easing Rem and Shera's jealousy. Lumachina suspects that the head cardinal of her church wants her dead due to her investigation into his corruption, and she was seeking head paladin Batutta's help. Diablo agrees to accompany her to Zircon Tower City, where he recalls his dungeon in Cross Reverie being located. Lumachina encounters Clem and Edelgard, and their initial encounter is marked by instinctive discord. Consequently, Diablo decides to leave Clem and Edelgard behind, although Clem upgrades Shera's bow to a demonic ebony bow for her protection before their departure. Upon reaching Zircon Tower City, a child named Horn, who had already explored the first 3 floors of a newly discovered dungeon, volunteers to guide the group. This confirms that it is indeed Diablo's dungeon, suggesting that it was summoned along with him. A desperate woman pleads with a priest from the Paladin Brigade to cure her child of the lethal disease known as Death Knell, but her request is denied due to her lack of money. Diablo intervenes and defeats the violent priest, while Lumachina heals the child. Suddenly, a monstrous sand whale launches an attack on the city, prompting Diablo to confront it. However, he requires assistance from Batutta, the head paladin, and Phanis Laminitis, the city's leader, to repel the creature. Batutta apologizes for the misconduct of his subordinate, but Phanis has heavily taxed the church, leaving them in dire need of funds. Phanis expresses her disbelief in the existence of God, dismissing the church as swindlers. She attempts to shoot Lumachina, but Batutta intervenes, arguing that God's failure to intervene proves his non-existence, and then departs. Lumachina is horrified by the widespread presence of Death Knell among the people, coupled with their inability to afford healing. Batutta, however, insists on a pragmatic approach. He leads the group to his mansion, and provides them with food. While Diablo and Shera take a bath, Batutta and his maid engage in a discussion with Rem and Lumachina. Just as Lumachina concludes that Death Knell is not a disease, but a curse, she and Rem are drugged and abducted by Batutta and his maid, Shilia. Fortunately, Horn witnesses the incident and alerts Diablo and Shera. Upon awakening, Lumachina and Rem find themselves bound to crosses in an underground altar where a depraved ritual is being conducted to extract the malevolent essence that generates Death Knell. Batutta confesses that he has no tragic backstory or justification for his actions other than deriving pleasure from evil. His sinister plan involves corrupting Lumachina with lust, thereby creating a powerful Death Knell capable of assassinating Phanis. Before Shilia can subject Lumachina to further torment, Diablo, Shera, and Horn arrive to intervene. Diablo engages in a perilous battle against Batutta, cautious of triggering a cave-in with his immense power. Although Diablo is impaled, he survives the attack and manages to sever Batutta's arm. Shilia threatens Rem, but Shera's arrow petrifies her, while Horn unties the captive girls. Batutta proclaims their impending defeat and launches a final assault, but Diablo counters and seemingly eliminates Batutta, which triggers a cave-in. They escape the collapsing underground, but discover that Lumachina has contracted Death Knell. Since she cannot heal herself, Diablo suggests entering the dungeon, where he had stored an item capable of providing healing. Meanwhile, the fallen Veracnus assaults Phanis while she bathes, warning her of an impending attack on Zircon Tower City by his army. He further threatens to add her to his harem before departing. Phanis' fleet intercepts the group, suspecting Diablo of colluding with Veracnus. Despite explaining their plan to retrieve a dungeon item capable of curing Death Knell, Phanis remains skeptical and orders their arrest. However, they manage to escape thanks to Diablo triggering an earthquake. Juelt appears and offers his services to Phanis, subsequently learning about the dungeon. 4 days later, the group reaches the desert's depths where the dungeon is located, but Lumachina's time is running out before Death Knell claims her life. Diablo conceals his involvement in building the dungeon. They defeat the Guardian at the entrance and progress into a labyrinth. Although Horn had prepared a map, its usefulness is nullified as the walls continually shift, prompting Diablo to blast through them instead. After engaging in battles against monsters, they find themselves suspended in a basket above a river of lava, compelled to answer trivia questions to proceed, which they successfully accomplish. Another challenge requires them to entertain an army of ape-like white jagers with a song and dance routine to advance to the next level. On a perilous ledge above a raging river, they must navigate carefully. Unexpectedly, Juelt ambushes them and poses a grave threat to Lumachina. However, Horn intervenes and both he and Juelt plummet into the river. Diablo urges the others to keep moving forward while he jumps into the river to rescue Horn. Diablo loses his staff to the river, but successfully rescues an unconscious Horn using his shirt and cape to create a fire. To his surprise, when he removes Horn's wet clothes, he discovers that she is actually a girl disguised as a boy to earn respect as an orphan. Upon awakening, Horn expresses that Diablo reminds her of her father, while they wait for her clothes to dry. Meanwhile, Rem, Shera, and Lumachina progress through multiple floors but find themselves targeted by Juelt once again. A colossal black dragon emerges and launches an assault on the entire group. Juelt summons the fire spirit, Ifrit, but the dragon swiftly obliterates it and gravely wounds Juelt. Despite his status as an enemy, Lumachina chooses to heal Juelt, rendering him unconscious. Just then, Diablo and Horn arrive at the scene. Though weakened without his staff, Diablo manages to inflict injuries upon the dragon, which attempts to flee. However, Rose, the maid golem, intervenes and eliminates the dragon for its cowardly act. Diablo recognizes Rose as his loyal NPC ally, and she in turn recognizes him as her master, granting them access to the treasure room. There, they approach a white ox statue that possesses the ability to heal Lumachina from death knell upon her touch. Diablo acquires new clothing and a staff, while Rem and Horn reluctantly change into revealing outfits that Diablo explains will provide strength and protection. Shera discovers a ring and puts it on. Rose feels envious of the other females in Diablo's life but is appeased when he presents her with a hair brooch. They prepare to transport the white ox statue back to the surface, but Rose employs a viewing screen to reveal that Varachnis' army is currently assaulting Zircon Tower City. Varachnis' army proves overwhelming for the defenders of Zircon Tower City, leaving only Phanis as a formidable opponent. Varachnis, accompanied by his wives, a mermaid, a harpy, and a dragon-like banshee, appears and tries to coerce Phanis into marrying him. In a bold move, Phanis shoots Varachnis through the heart, but the mermaid swiftly heals him. Fueled by jealousy, the harpy attempts to eliminate Phanis. When Varachnis claims that Diablo serves a demon lord, it triggers Diablo's ire. As a result, he and his group, including Rose, employ teleportation to travel back in time and rescue Phanis. Engaging in a fierce battle, Diablo, Shera, Rem, and Rose clash with Varachnis' army while Lumachina tends to the wounded with assistance from Horn. Diablo becomes enraged upon witnessing Varachnis flaunting his wives, as it reminds him of his struggles in the real world to find a girlfriend. Consequently, he confronts and swiftly dispatches the wives. Filled with fury, Varachnis launches an attack but is no match for Diablo. Diablo emerges victorious, proclaiming himself as the true demon lord. With the battle won, Phanis hosts a celebratory feast. However, on the way to the feast, Horn falls victim to bullies who assault and mock her, expressing disbelief in Diablo's role in saving the city. Coming to Horn's rescue, Diablo defeats the bullies. Tenderly carrying the injured Horn, she laments her own weakness, to which Diablo reassures her, stating that it is all right and she can stay with his group. Phanis makes an unsuccessful attempt to seduce Diablo in hopes of persuading him to stay with her. However, her advances are rejected. Lumachina, on the other hand, decides to head to the royal capital to eradicate the corruption within the church. Before proceeding, the group returns to Fultra City. While Lumachina pays a visit to the city's church, Diablo and Rose discover that Edelgard works at a bakery where Clem and Celestine are regular customers. Clem warns Diablo about sensing a powerful presence in the royal capital. The Mesmos family, a criminal organization, has been pressuring the bakery owner for protection money. When some enforcers from the Mesmos family arrive and disrupt Clem's meal of biscuits, she fights back and leads Edelgard, Diablo, and Rose in an assault on the Mesmos mansion. Diablo reminds the others not to kill anyone during the encounter. After defeating all the guards, they confront the boss and decide to intimidate him into performing good deeds as a form of redemption for his crimes. As the group regroups and enjoys a meal together, Chester Ray Gulford appears and informs them that their actions were witnessed. Clem is wrongly accused of being a demon lord and is targeted for destruction. Fortunately, the bakery owner and several others arrive and express gratitude to Clem for stopping the Mesmos family, revealing that the Mesmos family has been making reparations for the harm they caused. Chester concludes that someone capable of inspiring such goodwill cannot be a demon lord. The following day, the group bids farewell to Clem and Edelgard once again and continues their journey to the royal capital. Meanwhile, the head cardinal learns of Lumachina's impending arrival and declares that he will be prepared for her. The group reaches the royal capital, known as Sevenwall, where they are confronted by guards. However, Alicia Christella arrives and intervenes, dismissing the guards and granting them entry into an inn that she owns. Rose experiences jealousy but eventually relents when Alicia expresses her willingness to sacrifice her life for Diablo. While they dine, Horn expresses her desire to become stronger. Rose presents a slave collar, suggesting that Horn wear it and establish a master-servant contract with Diablo to gain his power. However, Rem and Shera caution against it, highlighting the risks involved such as the possibility of Horn's death if Diablo perishes. Horn refuses to wear the collar due to these drawbacks. After explaining the situation to Alicia, she agrees to investigate the head cardinal, Vicious, but warns that the church is beyond the reach of the law. During the night, Rose asks Diablo to replenish her magical energy, resulting in an embarrassed moment as it involves intimate contact. The next day, Alicia presents evidence implicating Vicious and his followers in embezzlement and murder within the church. Alicia desires Diablo to destroy the church, but Lumachina insists on presenting the evidence herself to excommunicate Vicious and his followers. The group bids farewell to Alicia and proceeds to the city's holy ground, discovering both a ground-based church and a massive floating church in the sky. Vicious makes an appearance, prompting Lumachina to denounce his crimes and order his excommunication. However, Vicious counters by accusing her of falsehoods and neglecting her responsibilities, commanding his guards and worshippers to seize the group. Believing his words, they attack the group. Overwhelmed by fear, Horn manages to escape and flees. Lumachina requests that the group refrains from fighting on holy ground, as shedding blood is prohibited. Consequently, they surrender and are transported to the floating church via a levitating platform. Lumachina becomes separated from the rest of the group and is condemned to execution. Diablo instructs the others not to attempt an escape as Lumachina had specifically requested this. Unintentionally, Horn activates a holy grail she had taken from Diablo's dungeon, causing a small fairy-like girl named Babylon to appear. Babylon explains that she manifests before those who offer blood to the grail. Embarrassed, Horn recalls urinating in it and decides to keep this information to herself. Babylon offers to enhance Horn's strength, but her spell proves ineffective. With limited options, Horn decides to wear the collar. Babylon assists Horn by providing instructions on how to utilize her newfound powers, including the ability to enchant men and make them fall in love with her. In this way, they infiltrate the floating church. Just as Horn reaches the cell where the group is held captive, a paladin attacks her and inflicts an injury. Filled with anger, Diablo breaks down the door. Horn feels disappointed, realizing that they could have escaped on their own, and laments that she had tied her life to Diablo's for no reason. However, Diablo expresses gratitude to her for snapping him out of his foolishness in blindly obeying Lumachina. As a demon lord, he declares that he obeys no one. He provides Horn with a healing potion and eventually defeats the paladin, albeit with some difficulty. Diablo takes to the skies and unleashes lightning upon the church while demanding Lumachina's presence. When guards present Lumachina to him, he sentences the worshippers to death, intending to provoke Lumachina into rebuking him and then feigning defeat to elevate her as a hero. However, his plan takes an unexpected turn when Lumachina agrees with God to smite everyone, believing that only the deserving will ascend to heaven. Suddenly, Vicious unleashes a massive creature named Europa. Vicious merges with Europa and proudly declares himself as a deity, proceeding to rampage through the church with the intention of killing Lumachina. Diablo discovers that he is shielded by a protective barrier and urges Lumachina to cast a spell to eliminate the force field. However, Diablo must defend Lumachina during the lengthy casting process. Rose attempts to assist, but Vicious destroys her arm. Lumachina successfully casts the spell, but Vicious resists its effects until the worshippers offer their prayers, granting her additional power and enabling the spell to succeed. With the force field removed, Diablo effortlessly obliterates both Europa and Vicious. Much to his dismay, the worshippers begin to worship Diablo as a deity. Rem investigates the interior of the church and uncovers Juelt's actions. He has resigned from the paladins out of gratitude for Lumachina's healing, and has slain Vicious guards. Juelt presents the key to Tria's cell, allowing them to free Lumachina's friend. Lumachina chooses to remain behind to restore the church's integrity and reputation, fully aware of the need to investigate Vicious' connections. Diablo eventually convinces Lumachina that he is not a god, although she remains grateful for his assistance. Horn and Babylon opts to stay in Sevenwall, with Horn aspiring to study magic, and Alicia provides them with accommodation. Rose's injuries are repaired, and the group returns to Foltra. Learning of Diablo's deeds, Phanis decides to visit Foltra once again in an attempt to seduce him. Shera mentions the ring she obtained from Diablo's dungeon, causing Diablo to feel embarrassed when Rose points out that it symbolizes marriage. Rem becomes jealous, prompting Diablo to suggest embarking on a quest to find another ring for her,